So yes,
Uh,
Mr. Mohit,
yeah,
please
Mohit,
tell me.
can you please mention your academic journey once again?
Yes, sir. Uh, I completed my education up till 12th from my hometown only, after which I moved to Panipat in Haryana for my bachelor's in mechanical engineering in 2017. And after I graduated from Panipat Institute of Engineering and Technology in 2021, so I can move to Delhi or anywhere else for my further studies. So in 2022, in the December of 2021, I moved to Delhi for my preparation for GATE examination. And in 2023, I cleared the GATE examination with AIR 283. And after which, for my job, for my security purposes, I took admission in IIT Bombay for my master's in thermal engineering. And currently, I'm pursuing my master's in IIT Bombay.
Great. Jay sir, you are.
Yes, so please, which are your favorite subject or on which subjects you want that we should ask you question?
Okay. So my favorite subjects are thermodynamics. It's applied subjects like RSC and power plant engineering and heat transfer.
Okay, so I will be starting with heat transfer. Like, how do you calculate the efficiency of a heat exchanger?
Heat and see efficiency of heat exchanger. The amount of heat.
Yes, yes. Please continue.
Efficiency of a heat transfer can be the yeah. It is the actual heat transfer occurring in a heat exchanger upon the maximum heat transfer that can occur, and the maximum heat transfer can be the maximum temperature drop of a oil that can happen through inlet to the outlet. So I think that is the
Yes, yes. Okay, so related to that only, how do you calculate the effectiveness of an heat exchanger?
effectiveness. For calculating effectiveness, we have one more method of calculating by NTU method, number of transfer unit methods. We are able to calculate the efficiency of heat transfer of a heat exchanger, and for different heat exchangers we have different formulas for calculating the effectiveness, like for parallel flow for boilers, for condensers. We have different formulas to calculate effectiveness.
Okay. Next question. What is the significance of Reynolds number in fluid mechanics?
Okay, so Reynolds number mainly shows us if our fluid is laminar flow or a turbulent flow. For example, if the value of laminar Reynolds number for a flow is less than 2300 for a pipe flow, if the value of Reynolds number is less than 2300, the flow is a laminar flow. Between 2300 to 4000, it is in transition phase, and after 4000, it is turbulent flow. But it is for a pipe flow, not for a plate flow. The plate flow, this values ranges up to 5 into 10 raised to power 5.
Yes, that's great. Basically, explain the first and second law of thermodynamics.
Okay, so the first law of thermodynamics basically talks about the quantity of this conservation of energy. Conservation of energy, that energy can neither be created nor be destroyed. Or we can say that for working of an engine, we cannot have an engine that is exchanging heat with only one reservoir. This is what first law says that, and the second law states that the first law says that yes, I need to change that. The first law says that we cannot have a heat engine that is producing work without taking energy from any reservoir at high temperature. That is why first law of thermodynamics says that, and the second law of thermodynamics says that we can statement by Kelvin Planck statement, we cannot have a heat engine which is working with only one heat exchanger, with only one heat exchanger that is gaining heat from a high source and without giving heat to a lower source, without exchanging heat with a second reservoir. No other heat exchanger can produce a work. This is what Kelvin Planck's Kelvin Planck statement says, and second is a Clausius statement, which comes under the second law, which states that we cannot have a refrigerator or a heat pump which transfers heat from a low temperature source to a high temperature low temperature sink to a high temperature source without taking any output energy.
Yes. Yes. So we will be continuing our discussion. So please tell me, Mohit, like we were having the first law of thermodynamics. So why there's a need came that we came on building the second law of thermodynamics? Please explain that.
Yes, sir. The first law of thermodynamics says nothing about the energy quality. That it doesn't say anything that how much energy we can get from a high temperature source and how much energy we can convert to this required work. So that's why the second law came into picture, which shows us the concept of entropy and shows us how much energy we can extract. How it shows us the limit of the maximum energy which can attract from the high temperature source. So that is the reason for second law of thermodynamics.
Yes, Subhasra, please continue.
Yeah, so I would follow up on your earlier answers. So with Reynolds
Okay.
number, you mentioned the laminar and turbulent flow. So how would you
Yes.
define turbulent flow?
Turbulent flow is what in laminar flow the streamlines are the gap between the streamlines remains same throughout the flow. But in case of turbulent flow, there is a huge intermixing within the flow. So the if we say about streamlines, they are not straight in case of a turbulent flow as they are in a case of laminar flow.
Correct. And as you mentioned, Reynolds number kind of shows us whether a flow is turbulent or not. Why is that the case?
Yes. Yes, sir. Because the value of Reynolds number is equals to rho v d by mu, as it states that if the viscosity of a fluid increases, the Reynolds number increases, which means if viscosity increases, the laminar characteristics of a fluid increases. Along with this, the Reynolds characteristics depends on various other factors such as velocity of the flow and etc. As the velocity increases, the turbulent characteristics increases. So this is why the Reynolds creates an analogy between the various other factors to the laminar and turbulent flow.
Well, you just mentioned the formula, its relevance, but not why. So, like for example, take viscosity. Why once we increase the viscosity, the flow becomes laminar.
Laminar. As we increase the viscosity, the forces between the molecules of fluid increases. So the molecule of the liquid, which is in a no slip condition with the fluid wall, the wall of the pipe will will resist the flow of the adjacent molecule. Thus the flow becomes kind of laminar or stable. So the intermixing decreases between the fluids. So that's why the increase in viscosity shows the laminar characteristics.
Correct. Okay, so you are almost near correct. That's very nice. Next, you mentioned first law, second law. What's zeroth law? Okay, don't define zeroth law, but why do we have zeroth law? What's the application of zeroth?
Yeah, yeah. There are a lot of applications for zeroth law. For example, the thermometer, which we basically use, is basically based on zeroth law of thermodynamics. The zeroth law basically does with it compares the temperature between three bodies. Let's say a body one, which is in equilibrium, thermal equilibrium with a body two, and a body 3, which is also in thermal equilibrium with body 2, and then we can say that the body 1 is also in thermal equilibrium with body 2. And as I mentioned the example of thermometer, in this case the body 2 will become a thermometer, and the body 1 will become as a reference temperature. Yes, sir. Sorry, I discontinued. I was talking about the zeroth law, that is the thermometer, which is based on the zeroth law of thermodynamics, in which the second law, which I mentioned, is what thermometer is act as a thermometer, and the first law will the first device will act as a body from which we gain the reference of the temperature. Then let's say the 100 degrees Celsius, which is the boiling point of water, and the third body is the body which to which we need to measure the temperature. So that's why the zeroth law of thermodynamics relates all of these three temperatures. So this is all the significance of zeroth law of
Cool.
thermodynamics.
That's very nice. Then while mentioning second law, you mentioned two different statements. One was a Kelvin Planck statement, and there was another aspect. Are they two different ones? Because you mentioned them, like you mentioned both of them. So are these two same statement or they are different?
So basically, the both of these statements refers to some different points. Like the Kelvin Planck refers to heat engine, and the Clausius refers to the refrigerator. But these are in some ways related to each other, as the violation of any one of the statement, like in Clausius or Kelvin Planck, leads to the violation of second statement automatically. So that's why they are interrelated to each other.
Correct. And also you mentioned that the second law deals with entropy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So can you mention the second law in terms of entropy? Your answer is correct, but you can
So
mention the second law in a better way.
Okay. I would
so
like
I
to
have
ask
to
one
mention
last question. Okay. What is Clausius-Clapeyron equation? Okay. First, tell me what is Clapeyron equation and another Clausius-Clapeyron equation. Differentiate between them.
Okay. So I am not really sure about Clausius-Clapeyron, but it is somewhat relates with change in pressure with respect to temperature with latent heat and its changes. So sorry, sir, I am not accurately sure about Clausius-Clapeyron.
You are actually correct. You are near correct.
Yeah.
Clausius-Clapeyron, it comes into picture when we have phase change,
Yes,
and
sir.
it is a ratio between entropy change and along with that one another characteristic. So you are right. So Mohit, that was very nice. I would
And then
say
P2 saturation upon P1 saturation is equals to delta H vaporization upon R into 1 upon T1 minus 1 upon T2. Right?
T2. Yes, sir.
It is the
Yes, sir. This
simplified
is something
formula. Okay.
form. Yes,
For
sir. But
Clausius-Clapeyron.
I forgot. Yeah.
So I said that how you can differentiate. So you must have said the answer must be like the Clausius-Clapeyron equation comes from the Clapeyron equation, right? When we differentiate after integrating, right? After integrating, we get Clausius-Clapeyron equation, right?
Clausius-Clapeyron equation.
Right,
Yes, sir.
Mohit? Okay. So that
Yes,
I
sir.
was
Okay.
expecting. No issues. So we will be reviewing. अच्छा है, काफी अच्छा था आपका एनर्जी आप में काफी है, बेटर है. बट जैसे अरुण है हमारे स्टूडेंट, तो अरुण केस में भी हमने यही चीज देखा कि नॉलेज है आपको, बस उसको एक्सप्रेस करना सही से आना चाहिए, है ना. अगर ये नॉलेज अगर आप सही तरीके से एक्सप्रेस नहीं कर पा रहे हो, जैसे अभी Clausius-Clapeyron का ही था, एक एग्जांपल ले लिया, इसमें आपने सही तरीके से एक्सप्रेस नहीं किया, है ना. इंटरव्यूअर को ये नहीं जानना है कि इसका आंसर क्या होना चाहिए, क्या उसका क्या परफेक्ट एग्जांपल है या फिर परफेक्ट आंसर है. आंसर तो परफेक्ट होना चाहिए, करेक्ट होना चाहिए, राइट. बट अगर आप करेक्ट नहीं भी होते हो तो उसे एक्सप्रेस करना आपको काफी अच्छी तरह से आना चाहिए. आपका जो कॉन्फिडेंस है, कॉन्फिडेंस बेस्ट है, इस कॉन्फिडेंस को बरकरार रखो, है ना. एंड बस थोड़ा सा परफेक्ट आंसर की तरफ आप मूव करो. ओके. बाकी आई होप आपका हो जाएगा, है ना. प्लीज सुबोध सर, यू कैन add some points.
But you have good energy, but I would say sometimes, as someone on our side, it's very hard to hear what exactly you are saying. It's very fast. So the energy can be a little bit downside. So try to be little calm while speaking so that what you are speaking, we could hear it, we could understand it. It's
Yes.
actually nice that you are able to speak. So it's much better than not being able to speak. So
And
that's there. Then your HR questions were really nice, really good, but it can be seen that you don't have a large idea about, let's say, the working of IOCL, the history of IOCL, and questions about that. When it comes to questions about you were very good at it. like you what you do, how you do, and those things. So I would say that much. Yes. About technical part, you have to improve it. We can just help you out in getting to know exactly what are the parts where you lack. I would say as of right now, little bit clarity about laws in thermodynamics. Those could be needed, mainly about the
Yeah.
statement side, the application side.
और थोड़ा सा एक चीज और नोटिस करी, थोड़ा सोच के बोलो. ओके, यू मस्ट थिंक एंड देन आंसर
Okay.
द क्वेश्चन, राइट. पहले कुछ सोच लो और उसके बाद में बताओगे ना, काफी इफेक्टिव पड़ेगा. और एक और चीज मैंने जो नोटिस करी थी, जब आपने इंट्रोडक्शन दे रहे थे, तो इंट्रोडक्शन में आपने ये चीज कहा कि माय फादर इज देयर सम टाइम, ही इज हेल्पिंग टू मदर. डोंट से दैट पॉइंट. ओके, मतलब
मत ऐसा
वो,
बोला?
हाँ ऐसा
सॉरी.
ही बोला था. तो ये पॉइंट ना,
ओके.
ये पॉइंट मतलब मुझे
हाँ हाँ
इररिलेवेंट लगा. और इंट्रोडक्शन में मैं आपको
वो
बताता हूँ, सबसे पहले आप अपना नाम बताइए, क्वालिफिकेशन बताइए, पूरी हिस्ट्री मत बताइए कि आप जैसे पानीपत में तो थे ठीक है, पानीपत से 2017 से आप दिल्ली मूव करे, दिल्ली से ये किया वो किया.
You don't need to mention the preparation part actually. Okay, just
हाँ,
scrub it out.
पूरी हिस्ट्री
ओके.
Mention
मत बताइए.
your UG and then that you have joined IIT Bombay as PG. Okay.
So that is the doubt I have, that I need to mention that I am graduate, I am pursuing MTech from IIT Bombay
Yes.
or not?
Yes, you say
See,
that point. You say that point because I have observed in many cases, जहां पे भी मास्टर्स की बात होती है ना, मतलब अभी तक के जितने सिलेक्शंस देखे हैं मैंने, उसमें आईआईटीज, जहां पे भी जिन बच्चों ने भी आईआईटीज मेंशन किया है, उन बच्चों का सिलेक्शन पहले हुआ है एज कम्पेयर टू एनआईटीज एंड अदर. ओके, तो वो
हाँ,
पॉइंट काफी इफेक्टिव पड़ता है. ठीक है.
but on the
मेरे को बस
same
यही डाउट.
side, be ready to answer. Like, are you ready to leave your IIT seat to join IOCL? Okay, you have to be ready
हाँ,
with answer of that because now that you are mentioning, so that way.
Yes.
वो आंसर तो ठीक है, बस मुझे ये डाउट था कहीं वो बोले कि तुम उससे वेस्ट कर रहे हो, तुम्हारी जगह कोई बेटर ज्वाइन कर
तो
सकता
उसका
था
उसका एक
करके.
सब्सटेंशियल आंसर तुम अगर आगे रखते हो, एज यू मेंशन कि यू वांट थिंग्स टू बी अ लिटिल बिट सिक्योर, दैट्स अ गुड आंसर.
ओके.
So that's a good answer, I would say. So you can mention something like that. और
ओके.
वैसे
और
तुम बात करने में तो अच्छे हो ही, तो कुछ ना कुछ
हाँ, वो
घुमाएंगे.
सब ठीक है. ओके.
बाकी बाकी मुझे तो
बाकी
थोड़ा
हाँ.
सा, मुझे तो सही लगा आपका. बस थोड़ा सा आप भी ब्रश अप कर लीजिएगा, है ना. मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि जब से आपने प्रिपरेशन एंड करी है, तब से आपने कुछ पढ़ा नहीं, है ना. तो
हाँ.
मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि आपको थोड़ा ब्रश अप करने की जरूरत तो है. ठीक है. आज हमने पावर प्लांट से
ओके.
क्वेश्चन नहीं पूछा, आरएसी से क्वेश्चन नहीं पूछा, है ना. क्या पता वहां से क्वेश्चन पूछे जाते हैं, बिल्कुल, है ना. पाइपिंग से क्वेश्चन नहीं पूछा. ठीक है. तो ये
हाँ,
एक मॉक में तो नहीं हो पाएगा, है ना. कम से कम 3-4 मॉक लेके तो पता चलेगा, राइट.
बिल्कुल. बस वही था कि आज पहला मॉक दिया, कभी इससे पहले कोई इंटरव्यू दिया नहीं, तो इसलिए थोड़ा आइडिया नहीं था कि क्या करना है क्या नहीं.
तो आपका कहीं पे
That's all.
बस
सिलेक्शन अभी
इसलिए
तक
थोड़ा
नहीं हुआ
हेल्प
है?
हुआ. हाँ सर, अभी तक ऐसा कुछ आया भी नहीं है ना. अभी आईओसीएल पहले ही आया, इससे पहले बार्क को मैंने दिया नहीं था, इससे पहले बार्क मैंने दिया नहीं. अभी बस आईओसीएल में ही अप्लाई किया, अभी पहला इंटरव्यू आईओसीएल का ही होगा, तो बस वही. सर 284 पे कोई चांस है आईओसीएल का?
बिल्कुल है
अच्छा
चांस,
खासा.
कैसे चांस
283
नहीं
रैंक
है.
पे.
आराम से चांस है.
284 पे, मतलब you are not in a, let's say, negative side. तुम ऑलमोस्ट सेम ही चांस डिजर्व करते हो जितना, लेट्स से, 100 के बाद के लोग वगैरह. तो इट्स यू आर वेरी वेल विद इन द, लेट्स से, द जोन, आई वुड से. कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. सो डोंट थिंक लाइक कि कुछ चांस है क्या. यू डेफिनेटली हैव अ चांस. हाँ, अगर तुम्हारा रैंक 600-700 रहता, जहां तक एक्चुअली कॉल्स
हम्म.
जाते हैं, देन आई वुड से अ लिटिल बिट हियर एंड देयर, बट 284 इज वेरी गुड.
ओके सर.
तो वी विल बी एंडिंग द सेशन.
थैंक यू सर.
ओके. तो गाइस
थैंक यू
मैं
सर.
आपको फिर से बता देता हूँ. गाइस, हम लोगों ने अभियान बैच स्टार्ट करी थी. इस अभियान बैच में हम लोग गेल, आईओसीएल, ईआईएल, ओएनजीसी, एनटीपीसी, एनएमडीसी, मल्टीपल पीएसयूज के सारे इंटरव्यूज हम लोग करवा रहे हैं, है ना. तो आप लोग हमारे बैचेस में एनरोल भी कर सकते हैं, जिसका प्राइस 2,999 रुपीज है. एंड आप लोग देख सकते हैं, ऐसे फीडबैक भी आप लोगों को मिल जाता है, प्लस ऐसे इंटरव्यूअर्स आपके सामने जो ऑलरेडी बार्क साइंटिस्ट, एक्स बार्क साइंटिस्ट, राइट. एंड बहुत अच्छे अच्छे, प्लस आप लोगों को बढ़िया मेंटर्स मिल जाते हैं. तो आप लोग कनेक्ट कर सकते हैं, ज्वाइन कर सकते हैं हमारी अभियान बैच. थैंक यू, हैव अ नाइस डे.